Whether you're an educator or an administrator, sometimes you want to create a group of students that sits outside of a traditional class. So for example, you might create a group within a class, or you might have a group of students that you're working with that kind of span a variety of different classes. So in order to create that group, what you'll want to do is go to the Student Tracker Groups area, and you'll want to create a Student Tracker group. The first decision you have to make is whether or not you want to create an automatic group or a manual group. The difference being that an automatic group, any filter or criteria that you set, the students will automatically be saved inside of that group. Whereas a manual group, you can individually select or deselect students that you want to save into that group. So some examples of some automatic groups might be a group of students that have an IEP in your school, and you just want one common list as a group profile. And again, it looks the same as a class profile, where you can triangulate report card data, EQAO data, and other assessment data, in addition to attendance and other features, all in one view. Sometimes SST, guidance, or administrators create case groups where they can select a group of students with the last name starting with A all the way to G. Sometimes groups are created for students within a particular grade that are not hitting those grade-specific credit accumulation targets. And so those are other types of automatic groups that individuals tend to create. So a manual group might start off as an automatic group, but based on some professional judgment and other information that you know about students, maybe you're selecting students to participate in a tier 3 reading intervention. So you might start with a list of students with an IEP that are falling below standard on a particular assessment, but then you want to manually select which students you want to be part of that group. So in this video, I'll show you how to create grow both types of groups. So to create an automatic group, I'm just going to select that create automatic group, hyperlink, and you'll see that the student tracker has these 3 separate areas. The left side, you'll have all the different filter types. In the middle area is where you actually apply a specific filter. And then on the right-hand side is the list of students. You'll see that I have no criteria saved, and so I have no students. So I might want to start with a list of students that are in grade 9 and grade 10 and click the apply filter. You'll see in the criteria, you can now see that grade equals 9 and grade equals 10. And you can see in the student list that I have a combination of students in grade 9 and grade 10. And then it'll also count the 105 or the number of students that meet that criteria. So maybe in addition to knowing their grade, maybe I want to go into the demographics section. Here's where you would indicate the last name range. But for this group, I want to actually identify students that have an IEP. So I'm going to click yes, and I'm going to click apply filter. So you'll notice that of my over 100 students, I now only have 18 students. So as you add different filters or criteria, it acts like a Venn diagram in that it only returns the students that meet both criteria. So students that are in grade 9 and 10, and they have an IEP. If you want to remove one of the criteria, maybe I don't want to look at grade 9 students, you simply click the minus symbol beside the criteria. And if you want to remove all of the filters, you simply click on the garbage can. So at this point, you can scroll through and apply as many or as few filters as you would like. So there's information available to filter based on EQAO scores, or perhaps it's the elementary report card from a particular term or strand. Maybe you have some questions or you want to create a group about absence or secondary achievement, even credit accumulation, graduation, grade book, if you're using the transition form, and many other types of filters. So I encourage you to explore the different types of filters and create different groups of students. So at this point, you might want to simply just export the list either as a PDF, an Excel file, or as a CSV file. Maybe you want to just explore some student profiles from this area, but I'm going to show you what you can do once you save this group, and I'm just going to select continue. So to save the group, you want to give it a name. So I am going to give it grade 10 and IEP as the name. So when I go back to this group, I know that this is my list um, of students that are in grade 10 with an IEP. You can add a description. So some people describe the filters that they used. And for this one, I'm going to include a start date as the first day of school. If you want to have an active group, which means that this filter will actively be applied throughout the year, then leave the setting as it is. So if any new grade 10 student arrives with an IEP or a grade 10 student has an IEP developed, you'll get notified when any students are either added or removed from this group. Who can view the recommendation is to always save it as private. In some instances, you might want to share this list with your principal or guidance counselor or SST. So you can definitely share the list with another staff member. Um, for school, for school targets, if you're in a school, the recommendation is that you save the target and type at the school level and click save. So once you click save, you'll notice that I'm back in the student tracker area and you can see this new group that I created called grade 10 and IEP. Um, in order to look at the information, so a class profile type group profile is available where you can look at the list of students with filters. You can look at report card data, EQAO data, and assessment data all together, and including attendance information. So very similar to a class profile, you can click on the group profile button to view that. Additionally, if you wanted to look at the dashboard, which is just the graphic representation of this group, you can click on the group dashboard. You can also just look at the group of who the students are. You can delete the group or edit the group at any point in time. You'll also notice that it shows up here under Student Tracker as well. So I'll just quickly show you a manual group and how that is different. Many of the steps are the same, except for the part where you identify the students that'll be part of the group. So I'm going to select Create Manual Group, and I'm going to apply the same criteria. So students that are in grade 10, and they have an IEP. So I'm just going to scroll down to IEP equals yes, and I'll apply the filter, and I have different students. Now you'll notice that I found the same 14 students as before, but when I toggle over to the group members tab, you'll notice that I don't have any students in my group yet. So from the filtered students menu, I can either select all of the students, or I can select some of the students. So I'm going to select student number 1, 4, and 5, and I'm going to click on Add Student. And now you'll notice under Group Members, I have these 3 students in my group. At this point, you can either export the list of students as a PDF, Excel file, or CSV, or press Continue to save the group as I've shown before. Hopefully this video helps you create student tracking groups so that you can create different types of groups to support their learning needs.